Good morning. If you have a sensitivity to noise or sound, I have an AC unit running in the back. If you can hear that, then just forgive it or turn the volume up. But I wanted to come on here and talk about how, as children who are experiencing abuse or neglect or just, the things that are not fortunate events for children, how one of the ways that your body deals with that is an inability to hold your water. And that shows up as bedwetting or being unable to, make it to the bathroom on time. And as you age and you get older, the medical field will tell you, oh, well, that's normal. That's normal because, abuse has been normalized in the Western Hemisphere. When it's really not. It's a very unfortunate event that it has been. But the reality is that so often society at large does not want to address the elephant in the room. And so they will take a portion of the blame for those events and pour it onto the recipient of it and say, well, that's just part of aging, or that's just part of you being nervous and anxious. When the reality is you're likely not nervous, but your body is sensing that you're in an unsafe environment. And that is, interestingly, one of the hallmark ways that a narcissist will abuse their partner is the inability to hold their urine or go on time, because they know that as soon as that portion of the central nervous system is dysregulated, everything else follows, and it's easy pickings for them basically to weaponize their partner internally against themselves. And so that if they ever step out and report it or ever speak up on it or make noise about it, no one is going to believe them because they already see them as nervous and anxious and potentially having this fear of that certain cycle repeating, when the reality is it is repeating, and they have someone who is actively engaged in causing it to repeat because they have manipulated their partner into believing that they're not doing what they know they're doing. Right? And if you are in that dynamic, that is your body's way of telling you it cannot support you anymore. That you have to move. You have to get out. Because as much as the body heals and repairs itself, there is a point where it will give out and it will not be able to operate the way that you need it to. As a child, because of all of the trauma that I experienced, and I never felt safe in my body, I never felt like I was going to actually live to survive what I was experiencing. I thought as a very young child I was going to die in a home that I was in from the abuse. I accepted that that was my body's way of recording all of the terror that I experienced and letting me know that this is not my imagination. These people literally, my foster father literally nearly killed me. His wife threatened to kill me. And having to grow up in a household where I never felt safe is a alternate reality, because you have all these people outside of you saying you're safe, but nobody is asking you if you feel safe. Nobody is actually investigating if the home is actually safe, if the environment is actually productive for you. And as a child, I just began to see that Reality, as we know it, is an illusion. Perception is more true than reality, because perception is what will tell you who is trustworthy, and it will lead you to safety. And more often than not, where that coincides with abuse, that is the one aspect of your identity that will infuriate your abuser, when they cannot convince you that they are in control of everything pertaining to you, that everything they say is law. And in my own case, with my foster father and foster mother, that was one of the aspects of his abuse that would enrage him so bad, even to the point of just demonic wrath towards me, is that he could never convince me to blame or shame myself for what he did, because I would tell him that God was seeing what he was doing, and judgment was going to come to him. He was not going to escape it, even if he was never prosecuted for it. And I said the same thing to his wife. And to say that I saw the eyes of that woman turn into witches' eyes would be an understatement. She eventually told me that my body would never be found, because she would hide, and I would just cease to be, and nobody would care about me. And as a child going through that, I knew that no matter what they did, because he tried multiple times to unalive me, that God would always provide a way out. And now, at the age that I'm at, I look back on that and I marvel that as a very young child, I could stand up to someone who was, well over 350 plus pounds, and verbally tell them the truth, that no matter what they did, God saw it all. No matter what they attempted to do to me, they would not escape God's judgment. And I just marvel that this little bitty thing that I was as a child could stand up to two grown adults and continue to call them the liars that they were, the demonic, demon-possessed people that they are. And to this day, I know that those two will never escape judgment, ever. And it doesn't matter how many prayers they offer on their deathbed. They made a choice, and God will honor that choice, and he will honor it with a judgment against them for the abuse that I suffered, and the complete character assassination that they attempted to put on me as a child, so that no one would ever believe me if I were to speak up. And one of the examples of that backfiring on them is the police officer that met with me the day I was taken out of their home, spending 5.5 hours in a very tiny office at my school, refusing to leave until I told him everything, until I gave a statement. And his partner was ready to get up and go, but this officer did his job, and he didn't leave, and he refused to leave until he knew the truth. And I can't remember his name. I just remember thinking, as I was 14 at the time, that this officer was an old man. Forgive me for that. I was only 14. So when you're 14, someone who's in their mid-30s is old. Now looking back on that, he wasn't old. He was, probably had been an investigator for maybe 10 years, I don't know, or an officer for 10 years, 10 plus years. And I am so thankful, to this police officer that did his job correctly, that did his job with heart and intention that day. Because had he not, I more than likely would have died in that house. Because a week before that interview took place is when the entire family of my foster father and foster mother found out that he had been molesting me, and not one of them went to the cops. Not one of them. So I was in that situation for an entire week before being able to talk to police, someone in authority. And it was very unsafe for me because my siblings blamed me for speaking up and saying what was happening, and also blamed me for breaking up the siblings. I didn't care. I didn't want anything to do with anyone from that bloodline, anyone from that DNA circle, because none of them are believers. None of them are even willing to call out the sickness in the family and then take a stand against it. I'm the only one that did. And as a child, I just made the decision to heal, regardless of what it looked like, regardless of whether or not my family rejected me, accepted me, whatever. And in making that choice and choosing to walk away from any thought to remedy those relationships, I healed myself in ways that therapy and medicine couldn't. Because I recognize that those seeds that are planted into very young children's minds blossom into people who have no boundary lines, who have no empathy, who have no kindness and no compassion, who are not willing to believe in God. And for me, there is no way that I would have made it through that experience if there had not been a God. And God is very real to me. And so, looking back at these patterns, I don't know if you listening to this audio now, if you are someone who, against all odds, against all hope, has always believed that there is a God, and it doesn't make sense to other people because of the things that have happened in your life, I just want you to know that it doesn't have to make sense to anybody. As long as you understand it and you have received it and you accept God is real, that truly is all that matters. How you show up within that belief is your relationship with Him. And that is not for anybody else to judge, or anybody else to make corollaries or anything like that about you. Know that they will, but you don't control what other people think, and what they think is their thought. So let it be a gift to themselves that they pass on living their own life by thinking about you so much. I mean, it's kind of foolish and asinine and just really stupid to be so focused on somebody else rather than your own self. Because what happens is life passes you by. And I want to encourage you, if you are in that stage of making a break away from everything and walking into a new chapter, to do it, and to do it without any shame. because there's no shame in recognizing when sickness is the family secret, when lies are the family dynamic that keeps perpetuating violent cycles and unending nothingness and humiliation for you and those around you. If you are somebody that has made a choice in your life to do better, just in that choice alone, you are already doing better, because you're recognizing that there is something that is not right in the foundation where you're coming from. And a lot of people will recognize that and support you because they themselves come from, similar situations, similar family dynamics. But that doesn't mean that they're going to do the work for you. You need to make sure that you are doing what you need to do within yourself without constantly going to this person and this group and that group for advice on, should I do this, should I not do this? What does your spirit tell you? What are the patterns in your life being reflected back to you? What are your familiar grooves? How do you show up within those? How do you show up within repairing yourself when nobody is around, nobody's there? Do you stuff your face with food? Do you start to drink? What is it that makes you not want to deal with hardships? Honestly, so that you can learn whatever you need to learn about that and exercise it out of your life so that it doesn't return, and so that the next time when you're in a similar circumstance, you can recognize what's going on before falling into an old familiar groove or looped pattern. And wow, we're already at almost 18 minutes. So I guess I like to talk. But I hope that this helps you. These are just some thoughts that I had this morning. And I record this and upload this with the intention of helping you to know that you're not out here by yourself alone, that there are similar people going through things and making choices and observing the patterns and observing the changes within themselves and becoming conscious to the ways that they have threaded unfortunate circumstances into their own life, and removing those threads, letting them unravel, so to speak, into nothingness, not as though the event didn't happen, but that's no longer a part of their character or their belief system or thought process. So I will see you on the next video, and enjoy your day today, and maybe find some time to smell the roses, and if you cross paths with a animal, give it some water or some food, and just reflect a little bit of kindness back into the world. All right.